Hello, class, and welcome to week 2. My name is Professor Celeste Martinez. You'll see in this week's materials were created by Professor Christina Inch. She's kind of the lead professor for this course. So I use that content to record the new lectures. So we have some kind of contact. So this week, you're going to see materials about what SEO is. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it basically has to do of what happens kind of behind the scenes when you do a search, you can say on Google, and you see that there are many pages of results, but you always want to know why are the results on page one? Why, how do they get there? So that is kind of it's kind of a hijack that has to do with the optimization of your page, of your website, the performance and other technical details. But it's basically the art and science of how to rank higher. Why do you want to rank higher? Because most people search when they perform a search and they get to the results, if they don't find what they're looking for on the first page of results, they go somewhere else or they change how that search would be. So it's really important for us to put ourselves in our audience's feet and think about how they or how we would search for content related to our product, service, or organization when they look in Google. So I'm going to show you one example right now of what I'm talking about. And here's one example that I just did today on Google. Being very specific, as you can see, this it's a long-term search query, and that is because people kind of feel that they can Google is a friend and they can ask them a question or just type how things come to your mind. But it's important to know how customers look for you. In this case, it's very important for Italian restaurants in Manhattan to keep track of how their potential clients would look them on Google and how you can rank higher based on how your website is optimized with some keywords. And as you can see, when I type best Italian restaurant in Manhattan, I'm going to scroll to the bottom. There are, well, more than 10 pages. So that's like millions and millions, but no one will probably get to page 10. So if your website or restaurant is on page 10, forget about it. They're not going to find you. So what do you want to do? Well, you see that here there are some publications that do directories of eating. So even though you can see that it is a specific search, there are many Italian restaurants in New York. So it's not a surprise that OpenTable shows up in the first page and Yelp, because they have their own SEO and algorithms and they want to rank on the first page. So, but this one, let me see, this one looks like a website from a website with other types of content related to that. So if you're a directory that's promoting Italian restaurants, then they probably did a good job optimizing in such a way in the website that when people search for best Italian restaurants Manhattan, and I always put the year because with COVID some of the restaurants changed, so there is a better chance of them scoring them. You would have to take a look at the website, at their head titles, at the photo titles, and all the content that you have there, because this is great ranking with something that is really popular. Now, how would you summarize the building blocks of SEO? Well, I think one thing responds to the other, but the baseline are the keywords, right? The keywords are what you as a user take into consideration as you search. just remember the example that I shared, or just think about how have you searched recently for a product, for a service, for a restaurant? How do you search? What are your habits? What are the keywords that you use depending on what you're searching for? Do you use a question mark? Do you type in questions, or do you use phrases? So that is basically what are those keywords that are related to, that are particular to your product or service that people will use when they search content online. What we want is to show up in those results, so our potential clients get to know us. And then after that, it's about content. It's about content creating, marketing program. If you have a blog, optimizing the blog and optimizing the content on your page to be able to bring better results. It's how you use the keywords, the headlines, and all the elements I have mentioned before to optimize or rank a little bit higher. Then, of course, the quality of your website is essential. And this includes whether the images take a lot of time to upload. That doesn't help you with SEO, because that tells Google that your user is gonna have a hard time by waiting longer for photos to upload on the website. And sometimes that happens because people, when they are doing their websites, they upload images that are too big, and so they take up a lot of space, and that has an impact on the site quality, and thus it has an impact on SEO. So the on-page SEO is part of that. Is part of that quality too, and Google has been revising and relaunching and optimizing their their algorithm. They kind of change the names and see, what are the factors that we need to take into consideration to bring results to people, to help people find the solutions or the questions to the answers to the questions that they are searching for. And then links are very important. And they if you use them in your website and you link to other website, that kind of gives gives them visibility, and so you kind of use other content that doesn't come from you. And if there are images, you want to link those. So those are really important when it comes to SEO. Now, how is the SEO process? I mean, how do you create an SEO strategy? Well, the first thing that you need to know is who's your client, who is your customer persona, and how is each stage of the buying cycle. Okay, think about when you book a hotel. Let's stay in Manhattan, for example. How would you individually search for a hotel in Manhattan, and then kind of try to understand each of the processes of the customer journey? So how do they look for stuff when they are in the awareness stage, which is when they are more open to different options? How can you rank there? And then out of that, once you understand each stage, then you start building your strategy and creating and optimizing the quality and the site quality. And then, of course, it takes, just like everything, this takes time. The ranking is not going to happen, from one day to the other. It takes a couple of weeks or a couple of months even for you to rank. And it's kind of a trial and error. And there are plugins that you can use in WordPress or Wix or any website design that you use, which can help you optimize, and they are very user friendly. So you could optimize your SEO strategy. So as I said here, the first thing or consideration is thinking about the keywords and how you align the keywords with strategy. Going back to my Italian restaurant search, you could say that one type of search would be you want to rank for trendy restaurants in New York. So that means that probably you would have to use a combination of those keywords or phrases somewhere across the website. Now, if you use those terms and those phrases, you need to keep in mind you're not tricking the system. You need to maintain relevancy, and you need to be relevant to what you're saying. So don't try just to stick in those friendly keywords because you want to rank higher. You have to deliver what you're saying your content is about in those descriptions. And so, as I said before, think about how your customers frames their need. Use their language. Sometimes people use slang or even more specific terms. I don't think it's fair to say that you search for a hotel in New York anymore. I think there's more to that. I mean, take for example Brooklyn, which is a kind of trending destination right now in New York. Then how would you look for a hotel in Brooklyn? Maybe you want to find a bed and breakfast, or use the words, or think about the words you would use or your audience member would use. And here are some of the research tools that you use. And one of them is the Google's keyword tool. You can use it with your Google account. And for example, if you type in a trendy Italian restaurant near Manhattan, then it would give you a list of what people are searching for in our particular location. So that will give you more ideas to create content and refine your SEO strategy. And I'm sure you've heard about this. We talked about it a little bit last week, and you're going to see it on your training materials. And it's the AIDA model, and it stands for awareness, interest, desire, and action. And so, again, going back to my example for the Italian trendy restaurant in Manhattan, if I do that search right now, you see or you saw that there's a whole list of different directories. I'm probably going to be looking into some of those links and some of those results, and I'm going to start narrowing down my list, and that is going to bring me to the interest part of the purchase funnel. And then what my searches are going to be different, right? They're not going to be anymore about something broad as trendy Italian restaurants in Manhattan 2022. So if I have like 4 options, I would probably use the direct names of the restaurants and then put the word reviews after that search. So I'm a suspect now for the restaurant. I may have some interest of going there. And so now I want to see the reviews and see how they rank and see maybe their website. And that's hopefully gonna, if I see the website, for example, I'm gonna look at the menu, that's gonna generate desire, right? So I am almost there, like making the reservation to the restaurant. And then, oh, I want to go to this place. The menu looks fine. The prices are fine. It's very important to have the reservations button or the options there on that website. So I could in turn make the reservation and make that conversion and go to the restaurant, and finally having a nice experience at the restaurant and becoming like a brand advocate for the restaurant. So that is kind of how the process goes. But I strongly encourage you to think about your own process of searching long tail versus short tail. So short tail will be New York restaurants, and that is more in broad terms. And then long tail is more along the lines of what I use. Now, take, for example, that I want to make sure that they have the calamari fritti, then I would do the same search and add the calamari fritti at the end. So that way the search results will show restaurants who most probably have that specific dish that I am looking for. So that's kind of basically the general terms in terms of SEO. You're going to find out a little bit more. And of course, reach out if you have any questions. Have a nice week.